What's up, people? Welcome to this episode of the Buy the Hood podcast or webcast because I don't know how you're consuming this content. I'm your host, as always. My name is Jimmy. And as we start off every show, that's with gratitude. Just want to say thank you to everyone, who showed us any love in any way, shares our content, supports by buying our merch. All the students in Buy the Hood University want to give you guys a special shout out and thank you. The university is continuously growing. And also, we were recently out in the street. We had our first speaking engagement since Corona, so that was amazing. And a lot of you guys who watched the podcast, were there. Want to say thank you to all, anybody who supported us in any way. My brother Corey is here as always. Corey, how are you?
Man, every day above the ground is a good day, man. I love being alive. And like you said, man, thank you to all the people who have supported us along this journey. We don't exist without y'all. So
absolutely.
Thank you.
And you all know that our platform is designed to highlight brothers and sisters who are doing amazing and a positive work in our community. This brother right here has actually been on the show and told a story before, but we want to bring him on again to talk about investment groups as well as this major milestone that we just crossed within our investment group. We got a brother who's a community activist as well as an investor and our partner in the IBB investment group. We got our brother Joel Wilson. Joel, how are you?
Hey, how are you doing, Jimmy and Corey? Great to see you again, and congratulations. You've grown this platform, and it's just wonderful.
Absolutely, man. Listen, you're the president of our investment group here in Philadelphia, the IBB investment group. And we have a major milestone we just crossed. We wanted to bring you on to talk about that because this is historic, right? Because at least I know personally, I've tried to start and be involved in many investment groups with our folks, and a lot of times it doesn't work for whatever reason. But it seems like we have a formula now, and I think it's funny. We were having this conversation about banks and the power of banks in the community. And one of the things that I said is, what a bank looks like has to change. We have to kind of get smaller, and investment groups can become that vehicle to help our community. But so I'll let you tell everyone, what is the major accomplishment that the IBB investment group has just crossed?
Well, you just brought up something on banks, so now you have me wanting to comment on that before we
talk. Let's
go.
Let's have a conversation.
Let's go.
Let's talk about it.
All right, so on banks, and I'll preface it with, I'm a lifelong entrepreneur, so I've been, doing this for 25 years, maybe more at this point. And dealing with banks has been a love-hate relationship, and it's that way for most Black business owners, at least the ones that I've known over my time. But one of the saving graces through COVID has been the newer fintech banks. That has been a saving grace to allow a lot of Black businesses to grab some capital. And we qualify. For 20 years we were constantly told you don't qualify, and now I'll throw one name out there, PayPal.
Yeah.
They have from the invoicing services to the quick transfer of funds, and then the capital loans that I know a lot of folks were able to tap into that money. It's been a game changer. So it makes you sort of wonder, some of the stuff that these banks have been saying for all these years is not necessarily true, that they couldn't lend us money because we didn't have XYZ credit score. No, that really was a way just to keep a lot of us out.
Well,
so I do think banks are going. I don't know if they're going to necessarily get smaller, but I definitely think they're going to change, and it's going to change for the better for us.
Yeah. Well, see, here's the thing: our community has a love-hate relationship, as you say, with banks historically. When you go back and see what happened with the Freedmen's Bank and how much wealth was lost, and when you think about that wealth, and we know how money compounds, what that would have done to our community, right now in 2021, that's hundreds of millions of dollars that would have been within our community. But was, and if anybody doesn't know what happened in the Freedmen's Bank, please do your research. That's a massacre that we never really talk about, a financial massacre, right? So our relationship with banks has always been tricky because on top of that, you get into what happens with redlining, right? And even coming out of the Freedmen's Bank, our people a lot of times didn't trust the institution of banking. So we start dealing with loan sharks, and even to this day, you start getting into payday lending and how that affects our community. Right. So when I was talking about getting smaller, I wasn't talking about the actual structure of a bank, but just us learning to work, cooperative economics. Working together take our resources to invest in things and bring that back, to the community. So that's kind of what I was talking about. And that's why Corey and I are passionate about DeFi banking in the crypto space, because to me, DeFi banking is the fairest system I've ever seen.
Absolute fairness.
Because when you talk about when you talk about DeFi banking, they don't care what color you are, how tall you are, how fat you are, skinny, old, ugly. They don't care about anything.
Assets, get loans.
Either you have assets and abilities and you can get loans, or you don't. It's really just that simple, and it's algorithmic. But anyway, let's not get off into a whole tangent with that. Let's talk about our investment club. The milestone we recently reached and the journey to get there. Right. So
yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about this milestone.
Okay. So the IBB Investment Group has crossed the $100,000 in asset milestone. So
amazing.
Big ups to all the partners. We took in our first contribution. It was February of 2019. So, if my math is right, February 2021 is 2 years. And then we got March, April, May, June. 27 months. We crossed 100K. So I think that's pretty impressive. No,
that's very powerful, because the thing about this is this is all through cooperative, through our folks working together. It's kind of reminds me of, I have a book sitting right here, right? The Leon Sullivan book, right?
Brother Bill.
Yeah, and this book is powerful, but it kind of reminds me of that. And you take these pieces from multiple parties, and this is all Black.
Right.
That to me is what's most impressive. Yeah. All Black. We've come together, put our money together to build this fund now. So I think it's very powerful to get to it. It's a major accomplishment, because now everything goes up from here.
Yeah. And folks, and if you think about it, so the joining onboarding fee or cost is $300, which is affordable for many. And then your monthly contribution is a low of $50, a max of $200. So again, this is in the in the budget of many individuals, and on the low end of $50 a month, many people waste that on coffee. At least they did before COVID. So it's affordable. It's definitely affordable. You could downgrade your cell phone, plan a little bit.
Yeah, your cable.
Next time you buy some sneaks, don't get the $200 ones, get the $100 sneaks. I mean, this is an affordable thing, and coming together, we have a good amount of assets, and now we have some additional leverage that we did not have 2 years ago.
This is true. Let me ask you, in your opinion, what is the secret sauce of this whole thing? Because I know Corey and I, as well as you, have tried to work with our folks to create something together several times, and it didn't work out. What do you think is the secret sauce that enabled this to work out?
So when I reflect back, this investment club, this successful investment club, is actually my third attempt at creating an investment club. So for those folks from Philly, we had a famous rap group called 3 Times Dope. So our investment club is 3 Times Dope. It took us three tries to get it right. And so sort of what I learned in the first investment club, it was a group of all guys. So it was like 7, 8 guys. And I can tell you, we had the greatest initial conversation. People were going in their wallets, pulling out money. I mean, it was, you would have thought, we was going to just, I don't know, buy the Empire State Building the next week. But soon as it required some actual work, you got to make some phone calls, fill out some paperwork and whatnot. Just a group of men, everybody wanted to be a chief, and almost nobody wanted to be, the Indian, do any work. So it really fell apart. We never even got to the point to open a bank account or collect any money. It was just all rhetoric and fell apart. So that was the first. So I learned from that. I said, I'll never approach just all men again. There will have to be a balance of males and females in a group to balance out the energy, balance out levels of work and responsibility. A lot of times when it's all men, they are just trying to sound impressive. But when it's women involved, they're gonna do less posturing and be more accountable in what they're saying because they know the women are going to talk about them if they say a bunch of puff and don't follow up. So that's sort of what I learned in that first iteration of the investment club. And then moving on to the second club. The second club was a co-ed club. And what I found was that the folks who were sort of the founding leaders, not everyone was on the same page, had the same energy, did not want to invest in the technical learning aspect for the club to be successful. And so some folks just really dragged their feet and almost, you could probably argue and say intentionally dragged their feet. And so, when I saw the writing on the wall, I disbanded that club. And we did collect money. I will say we did collect money. We had a few people, maybe half the people who originally signed up, putting the money in. And that's where I did learn. One of the nice things, I learned how to use PayPal to be the funds transfer mechanism for an investment club. So I learned that process in that second iteration of the investment club.
Okay, so that leads you to where we are now,
right?
And you figured everything out, So it's a lot of bumps and bruises along the journey, but it's well worth it.
So one other thing I got from the second club. The second club, we did go so far as to bylaws were developed, and so that was the framework of the bylaws that I used in our current iteration. So then I took that and modified it. I found an accounting system specifically for investment clubs, the myiclub.com system. And so that was like the core of, I identified a bank. In the second iteration, we were actually, now here we're a black investment club, but folks were arguing about whether we should use the black bank. So in the third iteration of the investment club, I did everything I could to take that off the table. Like, we're not going to argue about whether we're going to use the black bank. We're going to use the black bank.
Yeah. That sounds crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really, really like it's an all black investment club. What is the problem with it? Like, we got to be able to, use our people to come up. You know what I mean? Like, not like abuse them, but like we got to be able to. If we got black banks, we need to be able to use those. Like, we don't have all the same, businesses at the same scale as the population at large. And so when we do have those kinds of things, we need to use those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We also selected a major black CPA firm for the accounting. And, it was really important to try to deal with everything dealing with the money, because that's like the main reason we as black folks can't get together is, the trust issues around the money. And, there's countless stories where people have been burned and taken advantage of and all those things. So we wanted to make sure that folks felt comfortable and deal with people that are, for the most part, trustworthy people who have a pretty good reputation for, if they're in business, how they do business, or if they're, known in the community, sort of how they engage and interact with people. And so, so all those are the components now, in this gumbo that we have, our formula, and it works out. I'm very, very proud to say that we really don't have issues with people turning in their money every month. They send it in. We don't have to remind them. We don't have to call them up and, all that kind of stuff.
I think it's a lot of lessons that come from this journey. One is the fact that it's possible, because once you get to the point where you can accumulate 100,000 in assets, you start to say, okay, we could do this 10 times over. We could be $1 million club pretty fast. And it is powerful because, again, this is all our folks. Also, because we've done this and now we have the paperwork, the framework, we have the know-how with the different softwares. Technology is a huge game changer because everything can be transparent. So at any time you can see where your funds are invested, who owns what percentage of the club, and I think that's also powerful. But I think this is this can be duplicated.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be just our club. Now we can start to show other folks how to do this all across the country. And what happens when you have these little hubs of black investment clubs in different areas? And, that's how you make economic change. We're actually doing something and not just posturing, like you said, just having a conversation.
Right. So, and we actually have, we have a process built into our group, how you can start another group. And it's very simple. It's very simple. So you could be in, East Blip. You're in East Blip. You're with, 10 folks, and you're like, hey, we want to start an investment club. So what I would suggest you do is the 10 of you come together, either in an informal association or a formal association in which you become a legal entity like an LLC or S corp or whatever. But you could stay as an informal association. That's fine. And as that informal association, you join our investment club. So when you join our investment club, you pay your fee, your $300, and you could just pay $50 a month. So that $50 a month, think about it as taking an education class. But in this education class you're taking, you're actually building an asset. So your $50 that you're paying, it grows. And then you are actually in the meetings and you can see how an investment club meeting works. You'll have access to our bylaws because you'll be a partner. And so then you could gain experience. So then a year from now, or whatever time frame you're comfortable with, you could establish your own investment club. And you could actually lead the investment in our group, and that could be your first investment in your investment club.
Yeah.
It's real simple.
Yeah, and that's powerful because then you can, this thing can be duplicated and created all across the world. And that's powerful when you start to have our folks work together. One of the things I learned throughout my journey of trying to do investment clubs, and I'm pretty sure people can relate to this, the first one you try to start with family, right?
That laugh says everything you need to know about starting investment clubs with family.
You try to start with family or close friends, and that's always an issue. So my point is, if anybody's out there watching, you have to find your tribe, right? Finding your tribe is important, and find people who are like-minded, who have the same vision. And even if they don't just completely align, someone that's like-minded, because you guys can figure things out and work things out as you grow. But the one thing that, we all have in common is we want the club to succeed, because it's bigger than just the money, to be honest, in my opinion, at least. Is this whole process, and, I've told you this offline before, like, to me, this is bigger than the money. Again, studying
bigger than the money.
Listen, when you study Reverend Leon Sullivan and what he was able to accomplish, I've always wanted to be a part of something like that, because I just thought that was one of the more revolutionary and powerful things that has happened in our community that's really not talked about a lot. Let me ask you this question. Were you familiar with the 1036 beforehand? Is it something that you tried to, did you have that in mind when you started out this journey, or is it something you learned along the way, or you already knew about it?
So I was familiar with the 1036 plan. Hopefully I'm saying it correctly.
Yeah.
So I was familiar, and I tried to use elements of it. Matter of fact, on our it's not really a website, but our web page that we have for the investment club, there's an article or history of Leon Sullivan's his plan there. So I like to think of us that we are rooted in that original idea that he had. And one of the questions I have for sort of our elders here in Philadelphia is that why, when Leon Sullivan created something that works so well, why was it not duplicated?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question.
I mean, I can tell you the answer to that.
What's your opinion, Cor?
Our government doesn't want it to be duplicated, and because the thing our government uses is confusion of what we mean to each other, right? So they pit one of us against the other, and we don't trust each other, and so that's why it hasn't been duplicated.
Well, a lot of times I also feel like we're also looking for leaders. We're looking for that charismatic leader.
That's the other part of it.
Yeah, as opposed to group work, because group work is how you grow anything, in my opinion. But a lot of times we're looking for that charismatic leader, and what happens when you have the charismatic leader is you chop up the leader's head, and then the whole thing is gone.
So I absolutely agree with what you just said, Jimmy. The only thing, Corey, I would sort of bring into the conversation is when I look at our folks as a culture, there are certain areas in which we know how to build teams, and sports is one of them. Mm-hmm. But we have to mature to realize that the biggest game out here being played is this game of business.
Yeah.
And that's where we've got to perfect the teams. So like, when I used to play, basketball when I was growing up, I couldn't blame the other team. Like, the other team is doing this and the other team is doing that. They don't want us to win. Of course they don't want you to win. That's the other team. It was all about
this is not about blame, though. So what I'm saying is, regardless of what we do, we know what the situation looks like, right? And so we have to act like we know what the situation looks like, right? If we see a snake, we got to say it's a snake. When we see a wolf, we got to say it's a wolf. You know what I mean? So the thing is,
I just think we have a lot of agency because, and here's an example of what I mean by that. If we never started IBB Investment Club, then in 2021, folks would have the same sentiments like, we can't do it, they won't let us do it, and blah, blah, blah. And what they're saying, there would be nothing to sort of challenge that idea. And so people would continue to believe it. But because we have done it, if someone makes any of those statements now, we can very easily point to, hey, look at this.
Like,
they got 28 partners.
Paperwork, Jim? What you say about paperwork?
Documentation beats conversation 10 out of 10 times.
Documentation beats conversation 10 times out of 10. It's been done, documented, done.
Right.
Yeah, and I think it's important.
That's the only thing. I'm just trying to, get that message out there that we have agency to do more than what many of us believe we can do, and we just need to come together in teams. The bald and the ones with hair.
No, but I think that's why it's important to document this history and have this conversation, because who knows where it be as a club in 10 years from now. We can always look back on this episode and say, wow, it came a long way. We had 100,000. Now we're at, 10 million or whatever it may be. So we're gonna
be on our yacht. We're gonna have this conversation on our yacht in 10 years.
This is true. Say less. No, this is true. But like I said, this is bigger than the money also, because when you start to talk about like things that affect our community, a lot of it is economic, right? So these things, and though that's why I said banks have to be reimagined, what we call banks, but these are vehicles. These are vehicles that we can use to do bigger projects, whether that's buying a skyscraper one day or building a school, but now we have the framework as a community to come together to put the work in. It's about putting that work in, taking actual action. You said something that was interesting to me. You said in our community, we know a lot of people that, have a nice car, have a nice house, but it's not too many that are a part of an entity as a group of Black folks that are putting something together. All right. All of us can point to somebody that's achieved success individually, but not many of us can point to a group that has achieved success as a group.
That's part of what I was talking about with the rugged individualism. That's part of what our culture preaches, right? You get to the bag. You do this, you succeed. It's never we succeed. You know what I mean? So it's never like if I succeed, we succeed. It's always if I succeed, I've succeeded. And then, that praise get heaped upon that person who succeeded, which they deserve every single bit of that praise. This is not a hater session. You deserve every single bit of that praise. But the thing about it is nothing big gets done alone. Nothing. Right.
Yeah,
and that's part of what I was talking about with the way our culture is set up, the way the at-large population.
Well, I mean, that's why it's incumbent upon those that know better to do better, right? Because we could change culture, and that's kind of what Joe was talking about. Like we have a culture specifically in Philadelphia, like a basketball culture. We put together a basketball team in a heartbeat and travel with the team and go compete. But we have to learn to operate in this business space and stop practicing the rugged individual. See, in my opinion, a lot of times our folks, they want to be the oppressor themselves. They want to achieve stuff by themselves so they can actually turn around and be the oppressor, as opposed to so and that's a whole other conversation. But now,
a lot of truth to that statement.
Yeah, but now we're operating in a space where we're talking about cooperative economics, and then we're doing it. That's the most important thing. This is not just rhetoric like your first group. We've actually done something, right?
Yeah, ain't a lot of talk. Well, I mean, we do a lot of talking, but it's not a lot of talking without action.
Exactly. Action is the most important thing. You know, even
I mean, you can talk all you want, but by the 15th, you need to have your money in.
Say whatever you want. But that's what I mean. Send that check.
So let me ask you this question. So, you know, maybe this accomplishment. What do you see in the future? What are some of your goals and ideas and things that you want to bring together, you know, for the group? If you don't mind sharing that.
So we've actually crossed another milestone. So we have branched into real estate development. We actually have done a spinoff entity, so it's a separate entity, and we were able to capitalize like 50,000 in there in no more than a month. I mean, a couple of weeks, which is pretty phenomenal. And like right now, we have a culture within the partners that we trust each other. And we're investing with each other in different deals. There's at this point, there may be about 10 different deals going on between partners at different times. And I was just involved. I know I'm involved in a real estate deal that has one other partner in the group in it. Mm-hmm. And you know, it was a rehab flip, and you know, some transparency. We ran out of money. But I was able to reach out to a couple folks in the group and say, hey, you know, are you interested in maybe doing some investment? And it looks like that's going to happen. Matter of fact, one person was like, boom, I'm good. You know, I got 10 grand. So, you know, 3 years ago, didn't have that level of community.
Yeah.
To be able to do something like that. And then, you know, we have the real estate deal that has come directly out of the group, in which I know Jimmy is in. I'm not certain if Corey is directly in that. But, you know, and that's just the first. Yep. So I definitely see a huge pivot into real estate development. I see us developing, and probably more faster, is being a little bit more going harder in the crypto space. Mm-hmm. We have several individuals. Both of you guys are two of our crypto leads. We also have Camille Salter in there in that space. So we, you know, I can see us going harder there, and you know, so, and we're open. I mean, you know, we don't know everything. Somebody may knock on the door and say, hey, I got this new idea or something. And I have something now. I'm not going to share it right now. Yeah. I did send the exec team, at least everyone on the finance side, of a creative way. I think we can push forward our micro lending program inside the investment club. So I'm very excited about where we are.
Yeah. And that's the powerful thing, because now you have like a place where even if the group doesn't invest, you have a place where you know people who look like you are investors. So you say, hey, I got an opportunity over here. You can, you know, you have a place to come to raise capital. Right. And I think that's also very, very powerful, you know, because now we're doing work together, and like you said, in many different ways. Yeah. So that's exciting, man. I'm excited as well, man. And you know, want to say thank you for your leadership and helping us get to this point. Because again, I know it's difficult, and because again, I've tried to take the lead on projects like this, so I know how difficult it can be. But I think we have an amazing team in place now.
Of work when we tried to put one together, the initial amount of work, the initial deluge of questions was enough to say,
listen,
no,
we had about 20-something folks in the room, and like 15 people trying to bring their attorney with them. Like, you know, everybody. You know, so now you got attorneys want to argue back and forth.
Just with. We was talking about doing something like a 1036, literally, and people were talking about bringing their lawyers. $10 a month. I was like, you know what? It's not that deep. We're not doing 15 lawyers for no $250 a month. We're not doing that.
Yeah. So the lawyers would have got paid on that day.
Yeah, they're the only ones. They would have been the only ones.
Yeah, they would have been the only ones getting paid. He was like, what?
But no, that's a great point, though. Great point, Court, because why I keep reiterating that it's bigger than the actual money is because this is an example of our people coming together to trust each other, right? We've seen things in our community where people, try to just raise capital to do a deal where they take their money and go do whatever they're going to do. But this is all of us literally working together. So for the folks who don't understand what this investment club is, we meet once a month and we pitch ideas to each other. We talk about where we are with our books. Like everything is transparent, so you can see where all dollars are at any time. And
every single dollar.
Yeah, and the amazing thing about this 100K is the 100K we got to before we even got into real estate. So this is like in the stock market and crypto space. So we got there without even, really using real estate to supercharge that. So it's very powerful. Yeah. So anyway, Joe, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing that information with us, our audience again. And, I'm excited about what we've achieved as a group. And I just want to say thank you for, spending time with us.
I'm excited about where we're going. I'm excited about where we are, but I'm also excited about where we're going.
Before we go, though, I want to ask you this, though, because I want you to talk about your actual business. Because you have like you said, you're an entrepreneur, and we spend a lot of time talking about the club. But tell us about your actual business that you work in every day.
Well, it's harder to say what I'm working on every day because I'm split between about 3 different things at the time.
That's why I said you're active in the community too. 100 Black Men, I know you're active there as well. But you have your own business that
Right.
So tell us about that.
I guess I could say what I pay my mortgage with. So JCW Computer Consulting is a technology firm, and we're on the infrastructure side. So our target clients are small to mid-sized businesses, and we're more or less serving as their IT. And so I'll give what's interesting because of this conversation. So believe it or not, one of our new clients is actually Progress Plaza.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah. So in Progress Plaza, we have taken over their computer systems, had to give them some new systems, upgraded their internet service, new firewall, new email system, switched them over to Office 365, and now the latest thing, we put some wireless access points in there, and the latest thing we're doing is changing over their phone system. So
so you're in the infrastructure side.
Yeah, infrastructure, and also we gave them some new business cell phones because we're a T-Mobile partner. So perfect fit. So that's a great example of what we can do for small businesses. And matter of fact, I have to get them a proposal on possibly a website redesign.
Okay, and spend a couple minutes if you can to talk about your work with 100 Black Men, because that's also very powerful work that you do within our community.
Oh, that's my second job. that does not pay my mortgage. So yes, 100 Black Men of Philadelphia is a social activism company. We're at our core, we're a mentoring program for young people. We started nationally. We started in 1963. Police actually killed a young man in New York City, and a group of Black men rose up to protest that police station. And famously, from that protest, the police were like, how many Black men is it? And someone yelled out 100. So that's where we got the name 100 Black Men.
Oh, I didn't know that part of history.
Yeah. And 2 of our famous founders, Jackie Robinson, he's one of the main financial backers when we first got started, and also Dave Dinkins, first Black mayor of New York City. So those are 2 of the founders. Nice. So now we're in over 100 cities. We're also in the UK, Turks and Caicos, and excuse me, and also in Ghana.
Wow.
And here in Philly, we have we keep growing. I know the spiel was we had 7 mentoring programs, but we've added on since then. This summer, we're going to be launching a summer internship program similar to what I do in my STEM program, but we're going to be doing something like that for the 100. So our high school students will be paying them through the summer to participate there. But we just moved into a new building in Germantown at 5015 Wayne Avenue.
Oh, we're very familiar with that because that's the building we did our summer camp in.
We ran our camp out of there. Yep.
Yep. And it's funny because that's the first, I came there when you were there, but time goes. I didn't think about the building at all. And something triggered, and I don't know exactly what it was, but in the early part of the year, the killings were crazy. We had several of our young folks were shot and killed, and I sort of crossed some stuff that I saw Wanda Walker was posting up, and so I
love Wanda. She's wonderful.
Yeah. So I don't know if she started the combo or I started it. I could probably go back in the Facebook thread and see. But we decided we were going to sit down and talk, and I had no intentions on trying to move into the space. We were sort of waiting for our old space to reopen up because we were using Temple's Learning Annex. But when I went to see her and she gave me, the old mafia offer, gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. So then I had to come back and because the 100, it's a board. It's a nonprofit, it's a board. So I'm the president, but I still have a board. So I had to go and do a pitch to the board, then bring them over to see the building. And I honestly didn't think they were going to go for it. So, I was already, for them to be like, no, and come up with 1,000 excuses. And I was just so drained that I didn't have the fight in me for all of the reasons. So when they said no, I was already cool to be like, all right, no problem. It's fine. And, I'm waiting for them to say no. And they kept just talking about what they liked. And I'm like, huh? You like this? What? That? You like that? And they were just so gung-ho. So then once that happened, my mindset just changed, and I just went, okay, let's make it happen. And it's been a blessing. So, they've been really supportive. The family's been supportive. The kids love it. The community loves it. Literally we got people pulling up, they see us out, they pull up, giving a thumbs up. We had last week, we were there and the building next door was getting some construction work done. Mm-hmm. And a couple of the white contractors came over to us and was asking us about the program. And so I gave a little spiel, and he was like, "That's what's up. This is what we need." Yeah. I'm gonna tell you, I was a little shocked, but so we just getting mad love, man, from from the community and just really trying to make it happen.
Being in that community, none of that sounds foreign because they were very supportive of us the same way.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important to highlight that work, that part of the work that you do, because you have the investment club, you have your business, but you still find time to put work in the community. So I just wanted to make sure I highlighted that. So yeah, thank you for that as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so listen, man. Corey, got any questions for the brother when we get out of here?
No questions, man. Just mad love. Congratulations on everything that you're doing. In advance, I want to say, good luck on everything that you're doing, that you're going to do. And, just keep doing what you're doing, right? Because what you're doing is you're creating a new generation of people that can do that, that are community oriented and community minded. So with that, I say thank you. You got all my thanks and congratulations.
Absolutely.
Hey, I appreciate it. And I want to thank both of you for, seeing the vision in the investment club and getting past the rhetoric. You put your money up. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that. And you've been, loyal supporters, not blind supporters, because, you speak up when it ain't, you don't think something is not going the way it should. And that's what we need, iron sharpen iron.
Absolutely.
And we keep doing that. And we've shown that we can be supportive. We can be critical. We don't go personal. We keep it on the numbers. Yep. Keep it on the numbers, and we can build together. And what I see slowly happening now is that now you're starting to see some of friendships forming in this.
As you show.
And that's that next level. And that's, so we don't have to go and try to be like someone else. No, we just be us.
Exactly.
We be us. We nurture us. We nurture our families. We support each other. And we will get, whatever we want to achieve. And you don't necessarily need what I've sort of learned is that, we love the number million. I want to be a millionaire. But many of us don't need to be a millionaire to be financially independent.
This is
At
absolutely true. This is absolutely true.
The main thing you need to do is pay your house off. And so, right now, crypto to me is the average person's way to pay your house off.
That's an interesting point. Listen,
you about to get us down a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yeah. I'm gonna scale back a minute because you about to get excited. The one thing I'll say about crypto is this: to me, crypto is freedom because it represents even so much more than a price. When you really get into crypto and understand what it does and how it works, it absolutely is freedom. And I think that a lot of our folks, if we do nothing else, please study this space because blockchain technology overall is going to affect every part of our life. And I know I sound like a broken record because I say this a lot.
No, it's true.
But I think that we got to know what's going on.
I know Corey is going to love this statement I'm about to make. When you pay your house off, there is so many people you can cuss out.
I'm gonna quote you on that one.
I love that, Steve.
That's a good quote. I like that quote. I'm gonna quote you on that one. That's pretty,
for sure.
That's pretty good.
You don't gotta worry about where you gonna live at. Now it's time to rock and roll. Like, what you want? How you want it? I ain't mad at that.
Let's want to say thank you, good brother, and to our audience. Please make sure you see. I'll put some links in the description so you can see the work he's doing with 100 Black Men, and as well as the link to his business and anything in case you need any of those services as well. But we want to say thank you again from us and our community, and for the folks out there watching. As we always say, it's not about how much money you make; it's about how much you keep. Game elevates, and we'll see you guys on our next episode. Peace.